So our next segment here today, we've invited a bunch of folks who have been working with Arka and his team on various implementations and partnerships. And so I'm going to invite Surtaj Brar to hop on as well. Okay, I see that he's on the video. And hear Arka from you and from Surtaj about your partnership models, who these partners are. Surtaj, maybe you can start by introducing yourself and then get into the content.
Hey, sure. Thanks a lot, Jen. Hey, everyone. My name is Surtaj. I've been part of the team for a couple of years now. My background is really in science and technology and consulting, really a lot of consulting. More than anything for the past 15 years, I've been focusing on helping companies implement technologies and just solve real-world business problems through that process. As a part of the data economics company, really my focus has been, something similar, working with our partners, bringing these things to life, everything that Arka was just talking about.
Yeah, so Surtaj, as you've been, out there in the field talking to various companies about data economics and talking about this technology, how do you identify where there are partnership opportunities, and then how do you, make those come to life?
Well, really, we kind of look at it two ways. We started off in a process really focused on direct implementations, where we were bringing all the tools working. We started primarily in the health sciences, pharma space. Bringing these data economic networks to life. Since then, we've started to explore more of a middleware model, we'll call it, where really, it allows us to stay focused on the core technology, but through our partners, allowing them to really, whether it's using this to enhance existing products, build on top of things that they're already doing, or bring new products, new tools, new solutions to their industry, whatever that is. So those are really the two ways that we've kind of been going about it.
Thanks. So I think we're about to dive into some industry-specific examples here. And, I think the first one we're going to talk about is actually the project that you and I have been working on a lot together. So that is in the healthcare space, and it's around what we call outcomes-based agreements. So for those who are not coming from the pharma or biotech space, what outcomes-based agreements seek to do is attach the financial reward for a healthcare product to the health outcome that it contributes to, rather than just to administration of the drug or the product. So, for those who know healthcare, this would be a pretty radical departure from how finance and reimbursement work in the healthcare system now. But what makes it so interesting, oh yeah, and for people looking at the slide, where this is a list of all of the different industry initiatives, but this is really in that second column, solution one. What makes the idea of an outcomes-based contract or attaching healthcare finance to an outcome so interesting is that it can really potentially align incentives across players in the healthcare system that traditionally haven't been aligned with each other. So, this is, I'm not going to say that this is easy to do. This is really, really, really hard to do, because you've got to align a bunch of players that traditionally are not that aligned. You have to define what health outcomes are important. You have to have common definitions for those. There are some non-technology issues, I guess, around defining the business models and the financial models. There are regulatory and policy issues. There's some things around financial risk, which we'll get into a bit when we talk about finance, because some of those I think can be mitigated by technology. But really the only way to do outcomes-based agreements with efficiency in the market would be for all of the players to participate in some way with a common technology backbone. So one of the things that's excited me the most about data economic solutions and about the operating system specifically that you're building is that this kind of system could serve as that kind of technology backbone. So, Surtaj, if you can take control of the screen, I know we've been working on, a little software show that I think we can put up for people, and you can just walk through, what an example of basically raw data becoming data assets in the healthcare space.
And this is a part of our solution, by the way. This is the physical manifestation of it, which is really fun.
So, Surtaj, I don't know, I think you're on
mute.
Mute, Surtaj, but if you can walk us through what's happening here.
It's like I forgot to unmute myself.
On the left are the raw claims data. So this is like insurance company, the kind of insurance company data that you could base this on.
Yeah, so that's what you see here on the left-hand side. And basically just to, harken back to what Orca was talking about earlier. This is that completed task sort of data that you see coming through. It's being processed through like, hey, are the machines that have been built, and then the output is being combined right now to generate two types of data assets. The very first one is basically like, hey, this drug was administered at this time for this patient, whatever sort of information is associated with that. Then the second level asset here kind of goes into, hey, it looks at that whole data set to make a determination about like for how many months was this patient being treated, and what does that sort of outcome tell us in terms of, let's say, like how the patient is doing, how long they're living, all of that stuff. And then, what we can do is we can take that and attach some sort of like financial outcome, some kind of payment, other things that go to like these outcomes-based agreements associated with that. I don't want to spend too much time on this demo itself. I'm going to use the opportunity to plug Lydian Insider, which is, it's coming soon, and you guys will get an opportunity to log in over there and play around with this and some others as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is exciting for me here is that, we're pretty sure that we can, at least from a background technical standpoint, like solve a lot of the technology barriers to these kind of contracts, and that the technology can, help not only, I guess, manage or adjudicate these, but that there's another layer that can be built on top of this that helps manage the financial, the financial risk. And so to talk a little bit more about that, who carries the financial risk in these contracts and how, data assets could, maybe facilitate that in the financial and investment world, I'm going to invite Viren Mahukar to join our panel. So Viren, if you could introduce yourself and talk a bit about your background and what we're working on.
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. And thank you, Orca and Sartaj, for those comments earlier. So I'm Viren Mahukar. My background is essentially two domains. I spent a lot of time in the finance world as a banker, both on the market side and on investment banking. And I've also spent many years in the pharmaceutical industry, working with companies like Pfizer, Novartis, and medical devices, Alcon. Where I've played the role of doing M&A transactions, deal making, and investments. And a lot of my work has actually involved both in my finance and in my biopharmaceutical world work around sort of looking at what would be the pricing of products, how do you make access available for medical products to a larger set of people. So that's my background.
Hey there, thanks so much. What I really want to ask you about or get you to share a little bit more about is one of these things that Jen mentioned earlier around like the risk of these OBAs and some of the work that we've been doing around creating financial instruments for laying off that risk, and just for outcomes-based contracts, health outcomes data in general, and like how does that play for, say, like biopharma investors or others?
Sure. So first of all, just speaking about investors in general, they're always on the lookout for what in the investment world is called alpha, which means new ways of making money which are unrelated to existing market risks. So that's what any investment journal you pick up or any financial newspaper you pick up, you'll probably find the word alpha scattered all over. So everyone's in this search for this elusive alpha. And one of the things that or one of the ways people want to find alpha is to exploit risks that are unrelated to, as far as possible, to macroeconomic activity, other situations, etc. In the biopharma world, I believe we're generating, we're doing things. So, for example, a lot of investors might have interest in all the scientific innovation that's happened in the last few years. The last 10 years or 12 years or so have been a phase of dramatic scientific revolution in the medical world. And investors might want access to that. And they might want access to it also for the reason that, while on the one hand it is producing, it's creating all these new biopharmaceutical companies who are making huge bucks and so on. But there's an element of medical risk that so far has remained, to my mind, relatively untouched, which is that when you treat somebody with a particular medicine, the outcome of that is what, for example, when you have health insurance, the health insurer is taking on the risk that that medicine will work or not. And that particular medical risk is something that, other than the health insurance companies, there are not a lot of investors who are able to access those. And even for the health insurance companies, it's more of an administrative pain rather than, and they want to minimize those kind of risks. So there seems to be a whole world of financial risk, which seems to be unrelated. So how well your cancer responds to Merck's new medication, how well your blood pressure gets controlled by the new blood pressure medicine or whatever it is something that seems to be at least to common understanding, unrelated to the wider economy or the market or something. Now, can investors get exposure? Can they jump on to making money off those kind of risks? Can I bet that a new medication that controls heart disease is doing a better job than the previous one? Is that purely financial or economic? Probably not. Is that related to what's happening in the economy? Probably not. Can I make money off betting on that? Maybe I could. And that's probably where where something like this comes in, where the use of data sets, as was being described earlier, which probably are just lying around, nobody's paying attention to them. The owners of those don't even know that there is a financial opportunity or there's a financial investment opportunity out here. Can we convert those into real financial opportunities? I think that's where it's.
Yeah. Hey, getting a little bit of feedback on some of these lines. Hey, thanks, Viren, for that. The really the detail there, and I just want to recognize the amount of the thought and consideration that's really gone into some of the things that we're starting to put together in terms of the risk analysis and what that looks like and what the opportunities there are around outcomes-based agreements and in other areas as well for laying off that risk of